Alright guys, I am back here in my snake room surrounded by all these snakes and all these tubs, and today I want to showcase a special morph of ball python, and that is the lesser platinum. And believe it or not, I don't have lesser platinum in my collection, but what I do have is a few lessers. So let me show you some of my lessers. Alright guys, this girl is keyed in on the camera. She is ready for another rat. I actually gave her a big jumbo rat yesterday, and then just a couple days before I gave her another big jumbo rat, and she's ready to eat another one. She's ready to come up here on breeding season in about 2 months, so I've been really fattening her up. So this is actually what we call a lesser ball python. And the color and pattern's a little bit different than a normal. And I actually have another one over here. And this girl, she didn't lay this year, so this is actually a lesser too. And you can tell the difference in the brightness. So this girl is a little bit darker, and then this girl over here, she's a little bit lighter. And we think this one here is actually het for ghost. And if it's a true ghost, it completely washes out the whole thing. It's like a whitewash paint job. and it just kind of fades the whole color and pattern. And there's some people that think if you just have one copy of the gene, it's kind of like a lightening and enhancing. That's what we think. We're not 100% sure. So as far as the genetics and the breeding, this girl is possible het ghost. And it could just be a brighter line of lesser, and we won't know for sure until we breed her out. This is the first year I tried to breed her. So let me show you actually what a normal looks like compared to these, and you'll see the difference. Okay, so this is one of my normal girls here, and you can clearly see the difference between a normal and a lesser. It is night and day. And actually, when lessers are small, they're quite a bit brighter. I'd say they're almost as bright as this girl. And I had some that came from this girl. She laid some eggs. And I hatched out some lessers. So let me show you kind of what the small lessers look like compared to that big girl. Okay, so this is one of her babies, actually. A little tiny baby lesser. So this is actually a lesser male. And you can see how much brighter it is compared to the mom here. And he's had, I'd say, probably 4 or 5 meals already. And it's quite a bit brighter. It's actually the lessers, they used to sell for like $30,000 a snake, but now you can get, I'd say a small lesser male like this is probably less than $100. Okay, so let's talk about the lesser platinum. And actually, Ralph Davis had the first snake, and he called it a lesser platinum. And he actually bred it to a normal, and he couldn't reproduce it, which is kind of interesting. So I'm guessing his lesser platinum kind of looked like this snake here. And he bred it to a normal, and half the babies came out looking normal, and half the babies came out kind of faded like this. And he couldn't quite figure out what was going on. So then he bred this lesser to a normal, and half the babies came out lesser, half the babies came out normal, but he couldn't reproduce the lesser platinum. I'm just saying this is probably, I'm guessing what a lesser platinum looked like. It was a lot brighter, and he couldn't quite figure out what was going on. So, so what actually happened, that very first snake actually had 2 genes in it. It had the lesser gene and the platinum gene, which they actually renamed the platinum to Het Daddy. So I don't know if you've heard of the daddy gene. So, and he called it a hidden gene because you really couldn't tell what was going on. All the babies looked normal, and it didn't look at all like there was another gene in there. And actually, if you breed 2 het daddies together, you get a daddy. And I have yet to see a picture of a daddy. I've seen pictures of het daddies, and they look almost normal. But I'm thinking even a daddy doesn't look much different than a normal. So that's kind of what's going on with the lesser platinum. And then the platinum is actually another name for het daddy. So you can have like a het daddy Mojave, which they also call a platinum Mojave. So it gets a little bit confusing in the genetics. And it was a little confusing at the very beginning. So lesser is a pretty interesting gene. So it actually, so the interesting thing with the daddy is it was allelic to the lesser, so, which means it acts like a super. So everything you breed it to is either het daddy or lesser. And then there's another lesser combo that I want to show you. It's a lesser bamboo. And first of all, let me get a bamboo and we'll kind of compare the two. Okay, so this is my bamboo male. And these guys actually bred this year. And this is a lesser female here. They're both very beautiful snakes. And actually, when you pair them, you get more lessers, more bamboos. You can also get normals from the cross. And then you can get a bamboo lesser. And let me show you what a bamboo lesser looks like. Okay, so this is one of my bamboo lesser hatchlings that actually came from that exact pair of snakes. And it's what they call blue-eyed leucistic. So it's all white, and it has, if you can see it, it has really bright blue eyes. I'm actually going to move this over here in the light a little bit more. Maybe you can see it a little bit better. But she's got some really bright blue eyes. And the really cool thing about a bamboo lesser combination, so it has the bamboo gene and the lesser gene, and they call it allelic, which also acts like a super. So if you had a super lesser, it would be a white snake, or if you had a super bamboo, it would also be an all white snake, and they both have blue eyes. So if you get an all white snake, you really can't tell what it is unless you know the breeder and you know what the pairing was. And all of them, like with the super bamboo, if you bred it to something else, all the babies would be bamboo. And in a super lesser, if you bred it to something, all the babies would have lesser in them. If you bred it to a normal, you get all lessers. If you bred it to a pinstripe, half the babies would be lesser and half the babies would be lesser pinstripe. And with this particular snake, it's a lesser bamboo. So you wouldn't get any normals, and half the babies would be lesser, and half the babies would be bamboo. And that's what they call an allelic trait. And it actually acts the same with any snake in the BEL or blue-eyed leucistic complex. And there's a whole bunch of them. There's fire, where you can get a super fire, which is a white snake. There's phantom and Mojave and lesser and bamboo. And there's a whole bunch of different combinations that you can cross together to get an all-white snake. So it can get a little complicated. Also, if you have like a 5 or 6 gene snake with the lesser and you cross it with a 5 or 6 gene snake with a lesser and you get an all-white snake, you don't know how many genes are in there because it's an all-white snake and it kind of masks all the other genes. So a lot of times you can pick up a blue-eyed leucistic, and a lot of times they'll sell them for the same price as like a super lesser or a super bamboo. And they say, well, it might have, 3, 4, 5, 6 more genes in there, but they don't know for sure, so they will actually sell it as just the blue-eyed leucistic. Like, for example, this would be priced like, if it had super lesser in it, it would be priced as a super lesser, and you wouldn't really price it based on the possibility of a lot of other genes. So if you're looking for something with a possibility of a lot of genes and you want to get it at a real cheap price, you can pick up a blue-eyed leucistic that's possible for a bunch of other genes, and you might get lucky and crank out a whole bunch of really cool stuff. Alright, so let's go back to the lesser, and this time we're going to add a little bit of clown. And we'll see what a lesser clown looks like. Okay, so here it is. This is a lesser clown, and she's kind of fired up. She was hissing at me. She just shed out, so this is about as good as a lesser clown comes out. It's a little bit more faded than a clown, but clown is really unexpected as far as what you can mix with it and the different colors and patterns. It's one of the really hot things on the market. Everyone's after clown combos. And a girl like this would be fairly expensive if you went out and bought a decent sized lesser clown female. And I'm raising her up as a breeder, and I'm hoping to actually cross her with some other male clown combos. So basically, kind of my strategy on the clowns is I bought into just a straight base clown and this lesser clown female. And I'm going to give her like 2 or 3 years to grow her up till she's ready. And then when the prices come down on the males, I'll get a different clown male that has some more genes. Hopefully at a discount of compared to what I can buy them for today. But this is a really impressive snake. And they're really in high demand, these clown combos. And the lesser does a lot of really cool stuff with a lot of different snakes. It's a really neat gene to have, and I think it mixes well with a lot of different combinations. Okay, so I have one more lesser combo, and that is the lesser crossed with a pied. And this is my small male pied. And I can actually cross these two together. They're actually about the right size to breed. Not that I'm going to pair them up this year, but I do have a lesser pied in my collection. And the interesting thing about a lesser pied is the pied is a recessive gene. So if you mix these two together, you would get half lessers and half normals, and they would all be het for pied. And in order to get the visual lesser pied, you would actually have to breed 2 of the hets back together to get a visual. So let me show you what the lesser pied looks like. Okay, so here it is. Actually, the lesser pied is an all-white snake too. And it's not a blue-eyed leucistic like the lesser bamboo or any of the other blue-eyed leucistics. So the lesser pied actually has black eyes. And it is one of the really purest white snake that you can get. If you want a pure white snake with no colors at all, you saw the other one had a little bit of yellow down through it. This one doesn't have any yellow at all. It is really pure white. And the other interesting thing about the lesser pied is that if you take a look at the head, the eyes are quite a bit smaller than a regular ball python's eyes. So it has kind of like micro eyes. And it actually has kind of a smaller head too, which is kind of interesting. And it's kind of a peculiarity of the mix of the 2 genes, where you get a head that has just a little bit smaller of eyes on it. And that is the lesser pied combination. So if you bred this with a pied, you would actually get half pieds and half lesser pieds. And so it's a pretty powerful breeder. She's still got a couple more years before I can breed her, though. Okay, so that's pretty much all I have for the lesser and the lesser combos. So I'm kind of back to just this lesser female, and I kind of wanted just to give you a close-up of really how magnificent these lessers are. They are really beautiful snakes. And just kind of check out the sides, and they almost always have clear bellies. And they have these interesting patterns along the back here that like spots and bars. It's kind of interesting. And this is just the pure lesser with nothing, and we think it might be, this is the one we think might be het ghost, so it's a little bit brighter, but it really won't change the patterns. A ghost doesn't change patterns at all. So it's kind of interesting. It has like the little alien heads on the sides, almost like the normal with the little alien heads. But you can definitely tell from the color. It's a little bit of a pattern mutation, but not a whole lot. Pretty close to a normal, I'd say, but it's very obvious from the color. And here's kind of what the head looks like. He's like showing off his tongue for the camera. Her tongue. This is a female. So she's a really good looking snake. And this one's been off food. I tried to breed her this year, and she went off food like 6 months ago. So she hasn't eaten for a long time, and I've been trying to feed her, and she just won't eat anything. And I'm almost tempted to try a live rat, but I've had some snakes kind of get bit by live rats, so I try to avoid live if I can. And I used to try to push my snakes a little bit more, but I really haven't lately. And I think it's just, if the snake wants to breed, it'll breed, and if it doesn't want to eat or breed, then we'll just wait till the next year. But so this girl is kind of squirmy. I was hoping to try to get her whole body on the camera, but I don't know if that's going to work. So might have to just put her in the tub. Okay, so that's it for the lesser and the lesser combos as far as what I have in my collection right now. So eventually I'll mix lesser in with a lot of other genes and maybe showcase the lesser again. Maybe if I can mix it into some of this other stuff. I'd really like to see like a lesser desert ghost. That's one of my big things. Is I really wanted to get into the desert ghost combos. And this year will be my first year pairing them up. So I'll get some babies that I can hold back. And really, I'm hoping to really take off in the desert ghost project. And another combo I'd really like to see in a lesser, just the pure lesser, is a scaleless lesser. That'd be, I think it'd be out of this world. So thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something and enjoyed the show, and I will see you next time.